It used to be when people differed on important issues, they engaged the ideas with facts and reasons and arguments, and it just seems to me recently that those days are now over. Today we're going to be looking at cancel culture, and at the end of 15 minutes, my hope is that you're going to have a better understanding of where cancel culture came from, and also how do we respond from a Christian worldview. I'm Jon Noyes. If you're new to us, this is To the Point. I'm with Stand to Reason, and welcome. To cancel someone, it means to silence them. It means to use power to deplatform them, to demonetize them, or even get them fired from their jobs because their views are ultimately politically incorrect. Notice it's not just the ideas that get canceled and discarded, though. There's a person behind those ideas, and that person gets canceled and discarded as well. Simply put, I can't think of any other way to put it, but it's a culture of bullying. What starts with a difference of ideas ends with the willful destruction of another human being. Comedian Dave Chappelle, in his latest special, The Closer. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's the last in a long line of four, I guess, Chappelle specials, where he takes on every issue, and as a comedian does. And he makes the point that every single person who's born onto this planet comes by a woman. A woman gives birth. Hardly a controversial statement. Well, among the non-binary trans community, it is a controversial statement, and it sparked walkouts from Netflix headquarters. And Chappelle's been labeled transphobic because of his jokes on stage. One article says that the special is an instance of platforming transphobia and hate speech. There's been a call for Netflix to remove all of Chappelle's specials. In the closing few minutes of The Closer, Chappelle points out a few more instances of where cancel culture seeks to cancel an individual because of their views. Kevin Hart was disinvited from hosting the Oscars. J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, because of her views on gender, there's been a book ban on her. This book here, right here, when Harry became Sally, Amazon sought to remove this, and now it's back up, and they seek to cancel these things. And this is Dave Chappelle. He's got unlimited resources. What happens when the crosshairs of cancel culture get turned to somebody like you or me? Just ask former San Diego Gas and Electric employee. He was fired from his job because he was a photo of him giving what everybody thought was a white power symbol. Was put on the internet and went viral. Well, Cafferty is his last name, and he's Mexican American, and because of that photo, he got fired from his job. And any excuse that he gave fell short because the court of public opinion had already rendered its verdict canceled, and now his livelihood's gone. It's completely gone because of one photo that somebody took. And how do we get to this point as a culture? Those who claim to be the ones bullied have now become the bullies themselves, all because of a shift in power. Power here, and this is going to be a big thing over the next 10 or so more minutes. Power is the critical concept. Cancel culture, it's based on the assumption that power, not truth, is the only way to drive cultural change. For more on this, Greg Kokel, he wrote a great Solid Grounds maybe 3 or 4 months ago on this. You change the group in power and you change the culture. And there's a truth in that. But on this view, everything is simply a power play. Ultimately, the group power plays, they result in the loss of individual freedom and liberty. Canceling, in other words, the person or the individual and the ideas that come with him or her, as it were. Cancel culture is the philosophy that's built on the idea that power shapes all social relationships as well. If I have the power, I can force you to do my will rather than work with you towards a mitigated or negotiated solution to the issue that we're having. In other words, I can bully you into submission. And that's not what's most disheartening here, though, either. Tragically, this approach has resulted in the loss of individual identity. The group power mentality reduces people to mere mouthpieces of their larger group. Their personal identity, it gets absorbed by the collective, and now it defines them. Friends, this is what's called identity politics. And this is we're immersed in it. In this view, dialogues between people, they get reduced to power struggles between the groups they belong to. And as a result, there's a breakdown of rational discussion and reasonable negotiation. It doesn't exist. The opportunity for any type of peaceable or peaceful settlement, it's lost. You see, power, it demands capitulation or else. Come to my point of view or else. Cancel culture is the logical outcome of this philosophy, because you don't engage with any opponent, because there's no opponent to engage with. There's no you. There's only your group, and that exercises power, and that power is exercised in the interest of the group identity. What's the result? Well, loss of optimism. There's cynicism. There's narcissism instead of selflessness. There's the silence instead of discussion. You see, power is the fundamental motivation behind cancel culture. Cancel culture is its birth out of this philosophy. It gives these malevolent Machiavellians the opportunity to bully in a manner that destroys reputations. This is the logical consequence of a society that claims power is the fundamental force of social change. And I don't want to make a mistake here. It's not merely a critique. I'm not merely critiquing a contemporary philosophy. It's so much more than this. This is why we ought to get passionate about this. This is why we have to be discussing about this stuff. Because it's a dangerous place to live, because it's cynical. Your group, it may have the power today, but get this, tomorrow morning, there could be a shift in that power, and you could find yourself on the other end of cancel culture's stick. We're in a battle over the fundamental reality of what it means to even be a human being. Cancel culture defines us and judges you by your group that we belong to, and our latest mistake or gaffe or foible. But this is a false story of reality, and it needs to be countered with the true story of reality. The true story is that each person is unique and special and made in the image of God, and being made in that image and nothing else. This is the great equalizer, friends. Being made in that image is what gives transcendent value and worth to each individual, you and me, regardless of what group we belong to, and what mistakes we've made. I know I've made tons of mistakes just today. You see, the more power isn't the solution. It's the opposite of that. The struggle isn't over power. The struggle is over sin. Paul says that for Christ's sakes, I delight in my weakness and in insults and hardships and persecutions and difficulties. And for when I am weak, you guys know it, then I am strong. The solution to the problem is found in our weakness as we find strength in Christ Jesus. You see, the man from Nazareth put an axe to the philosophical roots of cancel culture. Jesus welcomes canceled people as his disciples. Excuse me. Where the culture responds with guilt and shame, Jesus responds with forgiveness and honor. Jesus, he transforms the shame-ridden identity of culture's victims into honor-laden individuals who stand in victory. Jesus replaces the temporal acceptance by the hypocrites of culture that we all seek on these online platforms by acceptance by the God of the universe. Remember that there is now no condemnation at all for those who are in Christ Jesus. You see, more and more the people, as they fall victim to cancel culture, they're going to be searching for a rehabilitated identity, and cancel culture is not capable of giving it to them. But Jesus can. And it's to Jesus that we have to point these victims. Excuse me. You see, Chappelle, he closed his latest special with a story of a friend, Daphne. Daphne, she was an aspiring comedian, and she was also transgender. So Daphne was a man dressing like a woman. And as Daphne got to know Chappelle, she came to support him online, defending him. Well, the canceling glare of the trans community turned to Daphne as she defended Chappelle on Twitter. Now, after 6 days of just being bombarded, punched down by this community, her own community, she killed herself. So how do we respond to this. In the last, I don't even know how much time it's been. It's been 10 minutes, last 5 minutes. How do we respond to cancel culture? First and foremost, it's not an issue. It's not an issue of First Amendment rights. Oftentimes, I hear people saying this is against the First Amendment. We want to run to the Constitution and freedom of speech, but mostly it's not that, because companies like Netflix and Amazon and these publishing companies, these places are private organizations, and they have a fair amount of freedom centered along these issues, which is in my mind a good thing. So it's not freedom of speech. It's someplace else. It's someplace else. Remember, I want you guys to remember that this issue has to do with truth. I mentioned it and pointed to it earlier. We are in a battle over truth. So what we need to do is we need to put out the truth into the culture and be defenders of that truth at all costs, even at the face or in the face of being canceled. Also, and this is a big point, I actually heard Carl Truman on his podcast discussing these things, cancel culture. He pointed this out, and I really liked it. Excuse me. Truman reminded us that we are in a spiritual battle. The forces of darkness rage all around us. So what we can do is, as we remember that we're in a spiritual battle, we could be praying for those individuals who are seeking to lean into the culture of lies, bringing the truth of the gospel. Even as like somebody like me is running into this, or Stand to Reason in general, at the threat of being canceled. One of the things Chappelle said in his special that I absolutely loved was, he said, well, when Twitter went all crazy with him, he was like, I don't really care, because they sought to cancel me on Twitter. Well, Twitter's not a real place. It's this place that we've created. It's a part of the story of reality, but the realities that are perceived on Twitter are made up, just like on our Facebook threads and streams. They're made up. So we need to hold firm into the truth of who we are and the true story of reality. And we need to be countering these lies from the cancel cultures, standing up to them, like a Chappelle, who doesn't even share our worldview, like a J.K. Rowling. We need to stand firm like some of these people, and let the waves of cancel culture bash against the rock of the truth of Jesus Christ. And I think we'll see victory. So guys, that's let's see, I'm looking at the time at the bottom here. That's my, I guess, 15 minutes, close to it, a little bit under, which is a miracle. And I'd love to just maybe survey some of the comments. I don't know if there have been. I haven't been really watching. And during these times together, I'm going to be coming on for To the Point. We've upped it, so it's going to be twice a month, the second and the fourth Wednesday at noon. And of course, they'll be recorded, so you can pick them up on the recordings. But you can make your comments in the sides here, and I'll do my best to get to them. If there are any, let me see, and I'll answer your questions. And what is that? Nendrix, N3N say thanks, man. I appreciate your support. You have no idea how much you guys' support means to us as we are out there kind of doing the battle on the front lines. You guys are why we're doing it. Let's see here. This one, this listener says, yeah, I got canceled by my best friend because I wouldn't agree to his truth. I said Jesus is the truth, and he disowned me for it. Yeah. One thing to remember, guys, is you got to be winsome and to be effective. I want to make sure that we don't ever create jerks for Jesus, is what I call them. It's like when I first got saved, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just so passionate about it. And I'm the only Christian in my family, and I really just want it. I really want every single person, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, everybody to come to know who Jesus is. And I just want them to know the truth. And out of that love and out of my excitement of what I just found, the way I was sharing stuff wasn't working. And actually, one night in a conversation, not too long ago, even maybe 7 or 8 years ago, during a conversation, my mom actually pointed. She says, "John, like what you're saying might be true, but the way you're saying it is really off-putting." And I remember thinking, "Ouch, that hurt." So like we wanted to be defending the truth, but we want to do it in a winsome way, where understanding that we don't want to fall into the lies of cancel culture. Now we can do the same thing. We can cancel people as well. I see it happening a lot. And but the way that we treat people matters, because one apologist says that behind every question is a questioner, and we always want to keep that questioner in the forefront of our minds when we're answering them. Because oftentimes, let's be real, when I answer somebody's objection, if I'm on a college campus or in a high school, or I'm addressing an atheist, or I'm talking to my family, oftentimes the question they're asking really isn't even the issue. The issue is much deeper. And so we want to be careful on how we answer things and make sure that we're not placating truth. We're not straying from the truth, but we want to be careful that we are not adding anything to the gospel as far as offense, because as Kokol says, the gospel is offensive enough. So anyways, yeah, I'm sorry that you got canceled by your friends. That's a bummer. Let's see here. What else do I got? Danny, thank you, sir. What you say makes so much. Hey, man, thanks. I appreciate that, Danny. I really do. I never know how these things are going to go off when I'm doing them. We're still trying to figure stuff out. Actually, right before I hopped on, I have lighting in this room. One of my lights ran out of battery, which is really funny. I forgot to plug it in just to run on battery. So let's see here. You oversimplified. So let's add clarity here. I may have oversimplified what I said. Honestly, that event made me dive into apologetics. I'm thankful for that scenario. Hey, man, God works all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes, right? So even the struggles that we go through, even the losses that we go through, these are momentary light afflictions producing us eternal weight of glory far beyond all comparison, right? He's doing something in us. Even through the trials, it's that chain of hope, I call it, where Paul says that it leads to proving character, perseverance, and ultimately a hope that does not disappoint. So even the hard things of life lead us in there. So that's a good point. I could hang around for another couple minutes. Make sure you check out these resources that we've posted here. Stand to Reason has commented. We have advice on how to face change in culture. I mean, Greg is just so amazing. It's a true privilege to work with him. Advice on changing culture. Feel free to ask your questions or thoughts. Greg dives into this here too. How can a Christian impact the culture? He answers it, and Harmony just linked to this solid ground. So I'm gonna hang on for another minute or two, but then I'm gonna get going. And I just want to say thank you guys to everybody who watches these live videos. You're the reason why we're doing it. I mean, really, you guys are incredible. You guys hold us up. And as I do encourage you, hey, as we go into the culture, the whole team at Stand to Reason as we seek to bring these ideas out and do training and train the Christian to offer a winsome defense for classical Christianity out in the marketplace of ideas. I covet your prayers. Be praying for us. Be praying that God brings us far and wide and holds us firm and strong to proclaim the truth of who he is and what he's done. At the end here, I want to also recommend that there are 2 new courses at STRU. If you haven't gone to the STRU webpage, you have to. The problem of evil, that is including yours truly. I tackled the problem of evil, and then one by Greg Kokol. You do not want to miss these. And he tackles atheism. And all you need to do is go to the webpage. It's you go to the training tool, STRU, log in. If you haven't signed up for STRU, you've got to. It's got to be one of the top resources out there now to anybody. If you have done it, thank you so much. And I just want to encourage you guys, the more courses you complete, and they're completely free, by the way, the more courses you complete, you get more benefits. And you'll start getting invited. Some of you watching may have already been invited to the meet and greet with the teacher. So Greg Kokel was just on with a bunch of students from all over the world, a bunch of people, all over the world. I mean, there were like 5 or 6 different countries represented, and it's a time where you can have a meet and greet with Greg or me or one of the other speakers. We rotate through, but it's contingent upon you completing these courses. So the more you complete, the more that's offered to you. So make sure you go in there and take the classes. They're fantastic. They're short videos, about 10 minutes each, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, and then 10 questions that follow it, and see if you can beat some scores on there. It's well worth your time. So STR University, STRU, make sure you do it. I'm sure Harmony is adding a link in here somewhere. Let's see. Here we go. Julie, how to be winsome. I'm so might be a jerk for Jesus. Julie, the very fact that you're asking the question probably means that you're not being a jerk for Jesus, because there's a sincerity there. And that's oftentimes what makes up, what fills in that gap is the sincerity. I know that was true with me. Even though I was direct and brutally honest and pushy, I was sincere. So that helps. How do you become winsome? It's simple practice. And what I've been doing is as my prayer life for people who are lost has increased, I start to view people differently. It's the words of C.S. Lewis. I don't have them off the top of my mind exactly, but paraphrasing him is, you've never seen an immortal person. Yes, the body might be decaying and withering away, but our soul is forever. So when you're talking to somebody, if you can keep that in your mind, this isn't just a person. This isn't just some product of evolution. This isn't just this isn't just somebody who's just going to be gone here one day, gone the next. But there's a transcendent value here. There's a transcendent soul. There's a transcendence that's meaningful and has purpose. Then that helps me really get in a good mindset to talk to people in a little bit more winsome way, a kinder way maybe. And trust me, Julie, I am like the most direct person, and like ask the staff at Stand the Reason or anybody I work for, any of the boards I serve on. Like, I'm the guy who's always like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. I didn't want to run into the issue full force. I'm the bull in the china shop. So it takes practice and it takes discipline. So the more that you become aware of it, the better you are. Ask people honestly, hey, how do I treat you? You could do that. Your unbelieving friends. Do you enjoy these conversations or not? And it doesn't mean you have to be passionless, by the way, because I am full of passion. Let's see. What else do I? More resources to become more winsome. I'd say watch all these videos and watch the videos on the Stand the Reason YouTube page. Watch Alan Schleman. He is amazing in his compassion and his winsomeness. Watch Alan. Tim Barnett's Red Pen Logic stuff is really great too. He's really good at hitting up the topics, especially the ones that have been done on TikTok, because he has such a short time to do these videos, to put them together. So he has like 2 minutes to respond to these. So he's only adding in facts, and he's really winsome in it. So check him out. Those are great resources. STR University. Yeah, this is the webpage, training.str.org, training.str.org. You want to make sure that you click on that, guys. Don't let this pass. How to reason with an idiot. Bo, man. Sometimes I fear I'm the idiot. Yeah, I don't know if this is a genuine question, but I'll take it as a genuine question. Reasoning with difficult people is hard. And sometimes I find reason in little bits and pieces. And you also got to understand, you got to figure out if the person is willing to be reasoned with. Is the person teachable, in other words? If the person isn't interested in, excuse me, if the person isn't interested in being reasoned with, then it's an uphill battle. So you got to know when to cut your losses or kind of cut the conversation off and stuff like that. But that comes through experience and stuff too. Yeah. You don't just walk away. There have been instances where I've had to walk away. Actually, you know what? The only time I've ever really walked away from somebody was a family member who just was irate and saying incredibly rude and disgusting things to me in order to get a rise out of me. And so sometimes you have to, you shake the dust off your sandals and you find someplace else to go. I'm not saying that's forever, and you certainly never. I never stop praying for this person. I pray every day for this person. So in that way, they're not forgotten or walked away from. But sometimes, man, if a conversation is turning toxic, uh, you've got to kind of cut it off. Let's see here. Helpful links. Pearls to swine. Yeah. Let's see here. Ocean Wilson is like one of the most incredible people on this planet. If you don't know Ocean, you should. Ocean, you're amazing. Tactics helps people be winsome. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. If you have not read Tactics by none other than Gregory Kokel, I mean, you have got to read that book. The 10th anniversary edition just came out maybe a year or two ago. It's got a bunch of new content in it. It's phenomenal. Tactics, when I read it, so get this, when I read Tactics, I was like a super baby Christian. I read it right when it came out, and I had been a Christian maybe 4 years, and not even. And it changed how I had conversations with people. Ocean is absolutely right. It'll help you engage people in a more winsome and effective way, a more friendly way, and navigate these conversations, but also take the pressure off of us. Like using Columbo is something I use all the time in spiritual conversations and not, and in just negotiations at work, or I don't like use Tactics on my wife necessarily, but certainly to seek clarification, it helped me instead of just jumping in, well, what do you mean about this? Like, when you said this, what did you mean? Because oftentimes what we say and how I interpret it isn't actually what the person means. So it's good to know these things. And that's one of the tactics. So yeah. And actually that book so affected me, Rihanna and I, my wife and I, after we read it, I ended up buying a copy for every single student at my church and in the youth group. Cause even if just one or two read it, it would change them. And it did. I can name a few that it changed really in a very, very good way. Tactics. Ocean, you're amazing. Ocean is on staff with us at STR. If you have ever supported us financially, you have dealt with Ocean because she is the queen of everything, and she's amazing. Thank you, Ocean. Let's see here. Catilla the Hun, the freedom fighter. This comment concerns me a little bit, Catilla. You're in Los Angeles and you feel really, really alone, surrounded by zombies. I feel the same way oftentimes, but that's why, friends, that's why the local church is so important. That's why getting involved in the local church is so important. That's why the gathering, the meeting, the physical meeting of the local church is so important. So I don't know, Catilla, I don't know if this is helpful to you where you are with church, but I'd say dive into a local body, find one. None of them are perfect, but find one that you can commit to and open up in and discuss these things. And remember, I mean, brokenness follows us into the church too. But the Church of Jesus Christ is the means that God has given us in order to win the day, by the way. The gates of hell will not prevail against the Church of Christ. Alone, we're islands, we're rocks, and we're defeatable. When we come together as the Church of Jesus, we will not be defeated. And I didn't mention that in this presentation much. I think actually maybe in another one of these. It's going to be my next blog coming out later this month. I'm in the middle of writing it, but it's the importance of the local church in apologetics, certainly, but just in the lives of believers. And Catilla, I'm glad that you commented on this because I can be praying for you, and I'll add you to my prayer list. And I hope you find that community, that sustenance, where you can go and you can find rest on Sunday mornings. You can find the joy in Christ, and hopefully something other than zombies. But I completely understand where you're coming from. I oftentimes I feel like that. I was just with my family, and sometimes it's hard. It's hard when there's just there's lifeless bodies, a zombie. You know, so there is and I didn't even mention this cognitive dissonance in in this worldview and in cancel culture in general, which is really interesting because so after we're done here. Okay, so this book was banned for a time. I think you can get it now on Amazon again, but they canceled this book, right? This is Ryan T. Anderson's When Harry Became Sally. Fantastic book. I really recommend it. Go online and search Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. Readily available in a number of different versions. Never a call to cancel it. Or how about Theodore Kaczynski? Do you guys remember that name? Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Oh yeah, his books, they're readily available on Amazon for you to buy. You can buy all sorts of things on Amazon that are way worse than anything Anderson, who comes from a scientific approach to address transgender issues and does a wonderful job. This is a really thoughtful book. but these other ones, it just shows the hypocrisy, but also oh my gosh, the term is slipping my mind. It's relative. It's subjective, right? This is it's relativism lived out, and it's and there's a cognitive dissonance here. There's a disconnect because they want their cake and they want to eat it true. They eat it too. So, anyways, I'm feeling your pain here. I hope that you find what you need. Run to the church. Tactics is a must. 5 copies for Christmas. Kenna deserves a reward for that. 5 copies at Christmas. You're amazing. Tactics is incredible. Let's see here. Works wonderful. Columbo tactic. Bo, it does, man. It's so awesome. Let's see here. Thank you so much. So I needed this today. Well, I think that you're amazing. And I don't even know you. So I just want to remind you, Catilla, if you're still watching, I hope you are. I'll just remind you of who you are. You are you're made in the image of God. You're knit together in your mother's womb. He calls you by name. He has numbered the hairs on your head. He knows whether you sit or lie. He goes with you everywhere. This is the Lord of the universe. This is the creator and sustainer of all things. He is consciously aware of you at every single moment, and he loves you. And he loves you so much that he gave his only begotten son to you so that you will not perish, but you can inherit eternal life as you confess his name as your Lord and Savior and believe that he's been raised from the dead. This is the Lord that we serve, and this is true about you. Every night, I remind my kids, I've got 4 daughters. I've got 4 little girls. And every night, if I look down, I'm sorry, guys, my computer's down here today. The camera's up here. Every night, I remind them, I say, did you know that you're a real life princess? Did you know that? And they ask, oh, yeah. By now they know. And I say, why are you a real life princess? Because now they know what they say. Because I'm a daughter of the true king. And that's true of you as well, Catilla. That's true of all of us here. We are royalty when we claim the name of Jesus. But we've got to be prepared to face these arguments, to face these issues that have with cancel culture and whatnot. So, Catilla, I'm glad you're here today. Columbo tactic. Catilla, you're great. Praise Jesus. That's right. Amen, sister. Yeah, I think that's it. Harmony, if you're seeing something, you can just throw them up on the screen if you want. Or if I forgot to mention anything. If you guys want more resources on this stuff, if you don't know it by now, it's str.org. You can find all the writings from us content creators. We just brought on a new speaker, Robbie Lashua, and I am really, really excited to see Robbie, not in action because I've seen him in action already. He has a bunch of YouTube content. He had a podcast. He was a pastor at a church. I'm just excited to get him integrated into the team here because, man, there's crazy good stuff happening with Stand to Reason. My point is that there's a lot more content coming out now than ever before, and more mediums. You've got YouTube videos, Facebook stuff. You've got us on Twitter. You've got us on the website. You've got articles and videos. It's amazing. So make sure you check out str.org. Make sure I've got this like itch in my throat from talking. It just started. But what was I saying? There's tons of resources for you. Make sure you go to str.org. I think I gotta find that. But it's the stuff for STR University. Really high quality videos, amazing interaction. And then again, if you complete the courses, you get invited to a fairly small, I mean, it's like, I don't know, a couple dozen people with like Greg or people on staff at STR. So, oh yeah, see, I'm checking my texts too because my boss texts me and reminds me of stuff. Meg, thank you. Reality conference. You guys go to realityapologetics.com. Realityapologetics.com. We're halfway through our season. We now have 6 cities that we go to. It's incredible. And so we've got Dallas coming up. And if you're within striking distance of Dallas, and I mean, you can fly there. It's well worth it. The tickets right now, I think they're like $65. And it's a Friday night, all day Saturday. It's an amazing conference. And now we call it it's Reality Student Apologetics Conference. The word students in there, and they're mostly students. They're going to be some middle school, tons of high school, and every once in a while some college. Parents and leaders, do not be afraid to come. I used to come before I was on staff at Stand to Reason. That's one of the ways I got to know the guys before I was on staff. And I had a ball, and I learned so much to bring back to the church. So you don't need to be a student, but if you're going to come, bring some students. They will be changed. I guarantee it. We get to equip people. And right now, guys, it's not 65, it's $45. $45. And you're going to see people like Jay Warner Wallace, of course, Alan Schleman, Tim Barnett, Robbie Lasher has a breakout. I got a breakout. I'm speaking on suicide. And I do an interview of Beckett Cook on homosexuality. If you guys don't know who Beckett Cook is, you've got to Google his name, Beckett Cook. He's got an insane story as well. He'll be there. We hit up issues like abortion, homosexuality, sexuality in general. We hit up suicide, of course. We hit up some science topics in some of the cities, and it's a really great time. So we've got one coming up next month in Dallas, and then we'll be in Philadelphia, and then we're going to be in Alabama, which I think it's Alabama, which is incredible. But apologetics, realityapologetics.com. Go check us out, and it's well worth the time and the money. It's an amazing time, and make sure if you come, make sure you say hi. I'd love to meet you. If you're in the Southern California area, we have Southern California. We had one in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we had one in Seattle. That's right, Seattle. We're going to like the upper Northwest and bringing the true story of reality up to Seattle. I mean, they need it so bad. And now we're going to Philadelphia, the Northeast, and I'm really excited because that's where I'm from, Boston. So like, I'm super excited to be back in kind of my neck of the woods. So anyways, reality conference, Reality Student Apologetics Conference, check it out. STRU, check it out. And also str.org for all the resources. I'm going to sign off, guys. I've been here, I think, long enough. And I thank you guys so much. Oh, you know what? I'm going to answer this one question here. Do you consider these wanting to prevent CRT from existing to be part of cancel culture? Okay. So Tim, the way that I take it to mean is the people who are preventing CRT are participating in cancel culture. It would depend on who you mean, because actually I think it's a good question. I have seen, certain people try to just cancel culture. I mean, cancel CRT. And what that means is, you remember at the beginning of the talk, what that means is that we don't engage with the ideas, but we just seek to malign the person behind them. So it's basically a bunch of ad hominem attacks as opposed to the ideas. Now, if you look at somebody like, for example, Greg has written on CRT in one of his past. It was either a mentor letter or um, his solid ground that goes out in the mail. Another free resources, guys. These are all free resources to you guys. Um, Notice he doesn't address the person; he addresses the issue. And that's what's important here. That's the difference between somebody who's participating in cancel culture, right? The people who are speaking up against Dave Chappelle, for example, they're not addressing Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is literally saying to them, he's literally saying to this community of people, he's saying, I will meet you wherever you want to talk about these issues in private. I will take time out of my life and I will meet you wherever you want. Let's do this. And they're like, no, because that's not what they want. They want him gone. He's expressed ideas that run contrary to their beliefs, and they want him canceled, deleted from Netflix, deleted from their view, deleted from popular culture altogether. They want that person gone. And that's the difference. That's what cancel culture does. So when we address CRT, for example, we address the ideas that are contained within that wrapper, and I'd actually argue that CRT, cancel culture, is expressed through CRT in many ways. And that's what I'd have to say. I hope that answers your question. I hope it does, at least. So oh my gosh, guys, you guys keep coming in with really good questions. So late here. Kenna, here we go. Is it Kenna? I hope it's Kenna. Miss Lynch. How about that? Miss Lynch. How should Canadian Christians deal with the criminalization of conversion therapies? This is a really good point. It's not just Canadian, it's American, it's US too. And I'm going to default here. I'm going to default to Alan Schleman here. He's written on this, I'm sure, because I know he presents this in his talk on homosexuality, about the ins and the outs of conversion therapy. I think a lot of it has to do with what you mean by conversion therapy, but then also there's differing ideas of what conversion therapy is. So I'm going to point you to Alan Schleman on that. And how do you? I mean, I know Canadians in general, you guys are under an onslaught of stuff. Ultimately, we need to stand firm. We need to stand firm with the convictions that we have, making sure that they line up with true convictions. Right? They're not these secondary or tertiary projects that we bring to it. But we need to stand firm where we're planted and not give ground to these ideas. So it's not a real question, not a real answer to your question, Miss Lynch, but I at least gave you, I point you in the right direction. If you go to str.org, search in quotes, conversion therapy, and see what pops up. And I guarantee you, if it's done by Alan, it's backed by so much research. And I don't want to mess that question up for you. So there you go. Let's see. I'm reading this comment here. It's now official in Canada. Pastor cannot even preach sexuality. Yeah, it is awful. And I am praying for you guys. And this is where we need to stand firm, right? We need to stand firm in our convictions. And I know that I'm praying for you guys. Well, Tim Barnett is one of your countrymen. And so we are up on these issues, and we are standing with you guys. So, yeah. And then this one here is Chappelle was actually a buddy for several years through work. Very humble. DT, I pray for his salvation. Yeah. I don't know who he is. I've actually never even, I used to in my former life at my last law firm, we used to work with a lot of celebrities, and I never came across him, which would have been fun. But minus the vulgarity, I love his stuff. When he had the Chappelle show, it was amazing. And but he's widely considered to be one of the best comics ever, which is saying something. So, anyways, he's a funny guy, and he's standing firm in this stuff. So all right, guys. With that, I am for real this time. I'm going to sign off. I can't find my timer on here. It's been like 30 minutes or so. And you guys are fantastic. Thanks for hanging in. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be back with another To The Point And we're going to hit up another culturally relevant topic in a way that hopefully you glean something from it. And till then, guys, I'm Jon Noyes. And for Stand to Reason and To the Point, you guys have a great week. I'll see you in 2. Bye-bye.